Get our Facebook Live started here. There it is. Is YouTube coming up? YouTube is on today, too. I tell you, we are rocking and rolling this morning. I want to say again, good morning to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. It is 11 minutes past 8 o'clock hour on this Tuesday. Again, happy Tuesday to you. May the 6th. Wow, it is moving right around ever so quickly. Time does what waits for nobody. So, what are you? I was about to say, what are you waiting for? But I guess that would be appropriate. Yeah, I guess that's appropriate. Anyway, so one big piece of news that is happening in North Carolina is a ruling from a federal judge. Yep, we'll talk about that in just a second as well. Let me get my Facebook Live shared real quick. A quickie. Don't thought. Let's see here. There we go. Good morning. While I'm doing that, people came by yesterday. Of course, we had 99-cent wings at Pop's Diner. Have it again today. That'll be our final day this week of 99-cent wings. And so people did come by and get those. And so we'll do it again today. And again, that's from 11 until 6 p.m. at 132 South Church Street, downtown Rocky Mount. Now, the news relative to our North Carolina Supreme Court case. So if you remember, that election happened back in November. Here it is, May. And we are still talking about the North Carolina Supreme Court justice seat. There have been various rulings on it. Do this. Nope, don't do that. Oop, do this. Nope, don't do that type situation. And so here we are again. The North Carolina Supreme Court Justice Allison Riggs will attain her seat on the state highest court under a new federal court order that said the efforts to invalidate the thousands of overseas voters are unconstitutional. U.S. District Judge Richard Myers II on Monday ordered the North Carolina State Board of Elections to certify the Democrat narrow victory in the November election, but he paused the ruling for 7 days to give the Republican challenger Jefferson Griffin time to appeal. Myers agreed with Riggs and others who have long argued that it would be a violation of the U.S. Constitution to carry out recent decisions of state appeal courts that directed the removal of potentially thousands of voters' ballots deemed ineligible. He wrote that the ballots couldn't be thrown out 6 months after the election date without damaging due process and equal protection rights of the affected voters. Which, when you think about that, how is it that you just have these other people who are appellate court judges who would rule totally differently? So then you got to say, well, are those individuals who, again, remain anonymous, are they not protectors of our U.S. Constitution, of our state constitution, of our North Carolina laws and all this other kind of stuff? Are they not, stewards of that and really upholding the values that we should have in place? I don't know. But it is quite interesting. This case concerns whether federal constitution permits a state to alter their rules of an election after the fact and apply those changes retroactively only to a select group of voters. And that's when you start talking about disenfranchisement. That's when you start talking about a whole bunch of other discriminatory type practices that that Griffin basically wanted the state to involve in. You really think about the basis of the case. You have a sitting North Carolina appeal court judge who, for any other sense of purpose, have basically said, you know what? I want to win this thing so bad that I'm going to go to areas of North Carolina in which I feel as though there's a strong sense of Democratic voters who could probably challenge those ballots. Maybe they don't have an ID, right? Maybe they don't have an ID, or maybe they never lived in the state in the first place. So I'm going to get some data points and put that out there. which again goes back to the idea of why people wanted voter ID to ultimately disenfranchise folk. And when you start thinking about military folks, and again, in the argument of the case, they all played by the rules that was provided by them at the time of the election. It's almost like your teacher teaching you a whole bunch of stuff. You get the test, and the test is about French, but yet you're in a Spanish class. You can't change that situation, right? So anyway, the case would also state may redefine its class of eligible voters, but offer no process for those who may have been misclassified ineligible. He concluded to this court to answer each of these questions is a no. Griffin's legal team was reviewing Meyer's order on Monday night and evaluating the next steps, according to Paul Shoemaker, a spokesperson for Griffin campaign. You know, at some point, I think Griffin campaign should just let it go. Again, I think that inevitably he's doing harm to the judiciary, for one, that process and those who support him in those efforts. And then two, there could be some harm, possibly, to the party in which he represents, the Republican Party, as to how many potential voters and individuals and families he's going to alienate, give a sense of their value not mattering. People have, and sometimes people have memories, right? And other times they maybe they don't have them. But the spokesperson for the State Board of Elections declined to comment. The board stringently opposes Griffin's efforts to throw out the votes, accusing him of undermining the basic democratic principles, but is now undergoing his own political upheaval. For the most recent, for most of Griffin's challenges, the 5-member board, 3-2 Democrat majority. But a separate court ruling last week handed control of the board to Republicans following a new law passed by Republicans last year. And again, I think that probably will be appealed. Maybe, I don't know. It's unclear what posture new GOP majority on election boards will take towards this case, particularly if Griffin appeals the case and continues going to court. But his new leaders have a scheduled meeting on Wednesday to discuss possibly vote on legal matters, among other topics. You know, I don't really know sitting those individuals there. Again, the court has acted, and the court didn't give any leadway, as Myers has done, for the appeal process in regards to the North Carolina Republicans just stripping away powers of the governor. Eventually, the governor's office will be one of just a figurehead and having no true executive powers if North Carolinians continue to allow our state legislators to shift authority and power from other individuals. Now, I don't really see, again, I do see how courts can make a conclusion or determination of that, in that it's more party politics than being equal, fair, and balanced in the process, and really just upholding the law. And again, I get it. You say, well, they are upholding the law because Republicans vote on a law to do that. But if that law was unconstitutional because it's taking, I would say, without being a legal scholar whatsoever, you're taking executive authority away from one individual and putting into the office of the auditor. And I think we looked at what an auditor does in North Carolina. Let's see. NC auditor, that duty's probably changed now, right? It was I think the Constitution was not clear on the NC auditors. Let me look and see. North Carolina NC auditor, we'll say constitutional duties. But I don't want. Okay, that's the General Assembly. Nope, don't want to see it. Well, let me just look at this. This is not constitutional. This is just of who? Okay. This. I don't know if this is a newfound duties or if this has been what their former duties were. So I'm trying to skim over this real quick. But what this says, it says duties and responsibilities. General duties is the policy of the General Assembly to provide for auditing and investigation of state agencies by an impartial independent state auditor. Areas of examination. The duties of the auditor are independent to examine in making let me go back. Okay. So it says areas of examination. The duties of the auditor are independent to examine into the makings of a fact on whether state agencies have done or doing the following: have established adequate operating and administrative procedures, practices, systems, and accounting reports, auditing other necessary elements of legislative and management control, are providing financial and other reports that disclose fairly, consistently, fully, and promptly all information needed to show the nature, the scope of programs and activities that have establishment basis for evaluating the results of programs and operations, are prompt in collecting, depositing, and properly accounting all revenues and receipts arising from activities, are conducting programs and activities, expending funds that made available in faithful, efficient, and economical manner in compliance with the furtherance of applicable laws of the state and if applicable federal laws. And so, when you look at what the state auditor's office is, even from its infancy, there is no executive authority there. It is, one, to be independent, meaning that, hey, we don't want the auditor to be in control of the governor or be under the control of the governor, because then the auditor will, kind of look over stuff because the governor appoints the auditor. So it has to be an independently elected body that will then investigate and have all powers and authorities to investigate the use of public funds. I get it 100%. How in the world have we gotten to a point whereas the North Carolina General Assembly and now the courts here in North Carolina agree that a auditor now has executive authority of executing governance in North Carolina? In fact, an auditor until here recently didn't even have the authority to do anything. They could just give you findings of the facts and say, hey, this is what we found. Do better. They could issue any type of criminal actions towards you. I mean, none of that stuff they could do. They can only tell you what they found and do it in a public way, right? They don't suppose it in a private way. They're supposed to do it in a public way and say, hey, these are some things you want to work on because you're violating either your city charter, you're violating state law, and this, that, and third. Now, again, if the findings of the audit does bring out that there was criminal activity happening, of course, then you have other investigatory agencies that then could come in based on the findings of the auditor to do their own investigation, to fact check even what the auditor has found, and then issue charges based on that. But as far as the authority of auditor to issue charge, they never had such authority. But again, they were just a finding of the fact to ensure, as some of the items that I read here a few moments ago. And now you have an auditor's office who not only will do that, but will also execute itself in appointing members to the Board of Elections across all 100 counties and at the State Board of Elections. That, in part, creates an issue. Now, again, if you wanted some appointment authority, I don't even know I don't even know how they could do that. I don't even know how they can do it because, again, the General Assembly writes the law, the executive branch executes the law. The General Assembly could write the law to say, hey, I get it. They can say General Assembly could write the law that says, hey, no, I don't think so. Now, I was about to say they could, but no, I don't know. So it may be to be appealed. I don't know what Governor Stein and office and others are doing in regards to the State Board of Elections. Of course, they tried to do it some years ago, and the courts at that time found it to be unconstitutional. So I don't know how. And I don't know how things unconstitutional before becomes constitutional now. But again, we live in a time where things that aren't norm now is the norm. And again, it's because folks who are watching this television program, who might be listening to this radio program, who might watch us via Facebook or YouTube, have allowed things to happen because of our inaction, have allowed things to happen because of our ultra polarization of party politics, that we lose all ground in common sense. There are so many people, whether it be on the Democratic Party, Republican Party, Constitutional Party, Green Party, Libertarian, you name it, who oftentimes face challenges on do I do the right thing or do I do what my party's doing? Right? That is the thing. And then, of course, if you have that independence, then people question whether or not you are a full member of the party type situation. And so you always have those challenges as well. But I think I would lean to more what is right than what is wrong any day of the week than party. But also recognize you can still be a part of an organization that you don't agree with everything they do. And so that is, an ongoing American challenge, with our party system that exists today. And hopefully one day we'll get it right. Let's say good morning to Irma Maxwell, Gloria Brake, James Bullock, Allison Williams, Alfreda, Reginald Manning, Deborah Gunter, Brenda Whitehead. I already said Deborah Manning, right? Did she go twice? Am I true? Okay, I said Reginald Manning. Okay, and Deborah Manning. There you go. Lorraine Pitts and Betty Archibald and Andre Smiley. Good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to WNCR-TV Now. And I'm sure Miss Gwendolyn Swain is watching as well. So, again, oh, yeah, Miss Romaine Sharp. I told her I would shout her out next time I saw her. I got on television. I forgot. But thank you for tuning in, too, Miss Romaine. Hope everything is going well with you. Miss Janie Mae Sharp as well, who I went and saw a couple of weeks ago. I tell you about my visit at the Rocky Mountain Rehabilitation Center. Went there the other day, Sunday. Was it Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. There's a lot of people who stay in those places, and it's amazing how just friendly seniors are, at least the ones that were out and about. And I guess just seeing people too. Some people are placed in facilities as such, and unfortunately probably never see the person who placed them there. And they're eagerly and relieved when someone comes to just say hey to them or walk by. And like the person who I went to visit, met a roommate. And so, people's coming to us and say, hey, Timmy, and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I heard the talk. She said, oh, that was Bronson. And it's a cooler place. So maybe as time permits. And now I see why people do rest home ministries and things of that nature. Because if you do anything in life, why not do something to bring joy to people? And oftentimes you'll find that if you're a pretty cool person, you'll find, and hopefully that thing will also give you joy. Many folks find joy in chasing money until they get all the money in the world and realize it can't do anything for them at all. I was just having this conversation with somebody I think it was yesterday. Oh, yeah. So, there is a whole bunch of stuff in life that we can choose to put our treasures, hopes, and riches in. But I would encourage people to take time when you have time. And I get it. You want to be sure you're not sick and all this kind of stuff. So if you got any ounce of sickness, don't try to bring nothing to the nursing home. And that's if they even allow you to come in and see patients, but or visit. They're not patients, but to see some of the people who are staying there. But even if you know somebody, there's probably many of us who watch this program today, who might be listening today, know somebody who's in a rehab or rest home, or nursing home, or whatever, assisted living facility, or whatever it is. Just you going to see that person for a change could actually find you somebody else who then you become aware of. And then be concerned about them as well, because and sometimes people just don't have any family at all, because they might have been the only child, and so when their parents die and this, that, and third, there's sometimes nobody there, and we have this thought process: well, somebody to take care. There's nobody for them, and so that is a challenge as well. I think I was about to say about this. I was talking about the defunding of mental health in our state with all of the federal dollars and things. Yeah, I had to take a deep breath on that one. I mean, I think we're just going backwards as a country. I think we're going, and again, the conversation again. We talk about going backwards. Making America great again, and America, from my understanding of its creation until today, or at least some part of today, has always been a progressive piece of soil. a boundary. I've never, until most recent years, really hear about going back to a place. We've always been pushing towards a new destiny, a new idea, leveling up, building up, and growing. And somehow or another, throughout political jargon and things of nature, we think that it is beneficial, and it maybe it could be, I don't know, but beneficial to look in the rearview mirror. There is nothing about yesterday that we can change today, right? I'm pretty sure you hear people say that before. You can't change anything about yesterday. Now, can you apologize for yesterday's action? Sure. But does that negate the fact that it happened? Absolutely it doesn't. So the actions of yesterday will always be there. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. But then the question is, in the moment that we live in today, in the moments that we hope we'll live in tomorrow, what are we doing to be progressive? And I think too often the word progressive has been, again, so polarizing by political parties that we ultimately become dumb, stupid, insane, ridiculous, any other type of adjective you can think of to think about irrational conversation to move the needle forward, right? When that gas needle on the back is going in reverse, what do we have to do? Put gas in and take it back to the positive side so we can continue going on our destination. Life is not about going backwards. And I don't know when there's going to be a core group of people that will metastasize throughout this country about the idea we cannot be regressive. We must be about moving forward. In fact, we can take, biblical rhythm to say press towards the mark of a higher calling. You don't press towards it going backwards. You can press towards it moving forward, right? Hey, caller, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bronson.
Good morning.
And listening to you this morning, I think that those individuals who can visit nursing homes or, other facilities like that should make an effort to go. I wish that I could, but my immune system is so low that I pretty much can't even attend a family reunion now without getting sick the next day or the same day. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, it's needed. And like you said, you would be amazed at the people who just want to hear somebody's voice other than a nurse. Mm-hmm. Take a gift. And I first would say, find out what the policies are.
Right.
But nevertheless, I just feel that, we need to do that more. I think we have gotten away from it takes a village. I really and truly do. I've always said that I was a keeper of the old and accept some of the new. And the little things that we can do as a people means a lot. And while we're on that topic this morning, have you ever considered your Fridays being Swap Shop Day? And that would cleanse our mind of all the rhetoric that's going on the other days of the week. Like I called in yesterday with the gown that my son had when he graduated, and it's not in use. And I would love to get rid of it. And I also feel that the high schools should have accept reused gowns. And for those individuals who cannot afford them or would put a hardship on a family, they will have these gowns to lend out. So anyway, I wish we would come back to some of the old things that we used to do. As I said once, years ago, we was considered poor and happy. Today, we have some of the goodness, and it's so sad we're not happy. So let's think about individuals who really need. Let's give them a helping hand. Bring back Swap Shop. You would be amazed at the things that people are looking for or to barter out. And That's all I'm going to say about it this morning. But if you would consider that, it would make me very pleased. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, there used to be a show on WHIG called Buy, Sell, and Trade. I don't know if they still do it or not, but they do that. You know, that would be another show that maybe somebody would be interested in hosting. But me, that would be a no for me in doing that. But again, I hear the need. And if that's a space that somebody is interested in doing, we can always try to create availability for that to happen, where you utilize the television space to where people just call in and say this is what they got available for sale, and they leave the number or something of that nature. Where you know the local, and again, Facebook has kind of done that with the local Facebook marketplace, but not everybody's going to be on Facebook. Some folks are going to be watching television or listening to the radio or something of that nature. So, hear the idea. Certainly know that it exists, or at least once did exist in our community through in part by the airways of WHIG-TV. And that's something that we can certainly look at doing if there's some interest of someone in facilitating a time and space for people to buy, sell, and trade over live television. That is certainly a option for sure, because it's been done. Let's say good morning also to, I said Glenn Swain earlier. Thank you, Ms. Swain, for checking in there. Also, Gwendolyn Johnson, Vernice Harris, Lorraine Pitts. Oh, she just, hey, man. Okay. Lucy Boyer, good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now. Thank you for those who shared the Facebook Live video as well. We appreciate you for sharing. You too can do the same thing. But yeah, what can we do? Right? What can we do? But truly, love folks. I think that is something to really think about in this thing called life. But again, we talked about the Allison Riggs situation. So I don't know if they will appeal the decision, or will he just go back to doing whatever he does as a appeal court justice. And then that brings another situation to whenever that seat for his seat, this current seat he sits in on the North Carolina appeals. I'm not quite sure if Griffin should remain at that seat, and certainly not sure that he should be reelected to that seat. Anytime as a judge, you are intentionally participating in behavior to discriminate against folks, I don't think you're really judicial. And this is the thing. This is when I talk about the harms of the Republican Party. If they try to run them again, I would hope that Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, everybody alike, anybody would say, we don't need to send someone like Griffin back to the Court of Appeals in North Carolina. And then even some of the members is on the court who also agrees in disenfranchising people. The days of rulings where, let me go here. Let me look what this ruling right here says. The days of the ruling of Dred Scott versus Sanford. This is American history, right? 1857 was a landmark decision of the United States Supreme Court that held the United States Constitution did not extend American citizenship to people of black descent, and therefore could not enjoy the rights and privileges of the Constitution conferred upon American citizens. This decision is widely considered the worst in the Supreme Court's history, being widely denounced for its overt racism, judicial activism, poor legal reasoning, as a de facto nationalized slavery, and thus played a critical role in the events that led to the American Civil War 4 years later. Judiciary should not enter into a situation in which you get so politically biased that you will adjudicate a matter based on your party's position than ultimately humanity, ultimately the law of the land, and etc. What is fair in saying that these are the rules of the game, and to later say, because I lost, we should change those rules. No, if people did what they were supposed to do during the process, respect it. Respect it. That is what I think America needs more than anything else. A little Aretha Franklin and respect, just a little bit. Don't even need a lot, just a little bit. If you had just a little bit of respect for folk, I think some of the stuff that we do and say about folks wouldn't even come out of our mouths. But again, that also means in order to have respect for folk, you got to also have respect for that man or woman that's looking in that mirror. So we talked about understanding our value as people some programs ago. So that's something to really think about as well. This country has reversed instead of gaining grounds. It's adamant about the progress of black race appears to be a threat to the race named white base. Mentality with one look. Let me see. Jumped up here. Good morning, also Jacqueline Randolph. It looks like history will see racial disease Chinese. Hey, caller. Good morning.
Mr. Bronson, you hit the nail on the head. If we as people would stop some of this mess that goes on as far as elections, we would be better off. Why didn't somebody say to this man, you just lost, try again, get out of here with that nonsense. If you have been determined the winner, why all of these recounts? Why all of these court proceedings when the outcome is going to be the same? You lost. So we need to just stop allowing people to do some of the things that they do and just stick to the old way of living. You lost. Go somewhere and sit down. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, and so quickly I looked at, well, who is Judge Myers? Going back to the situation here. And Myers, of course, is a judge that was actually appointed by President Donald Trump. So go back to say this. It says in Monday's ruling, Myers said that the retroactive change of the voting law suggested by the Supreme Court would arbitrarily disenfranchise only the voters who were targeted by Griffin. Griffin's challenge over C voters is only a handful of Democrat-leaning counties other than across the state. Permitting parties to upend the set rules of an election after the election has taken place can only produce confusion and turmoil that threatens to undermine public confidence in the federal courts, state agencies, and elections themselves, he added while citing other cases. Myers ordered the state election board to ignore the orders from the North Carolina Court of Appeals and the state Supreme Court and certify the results of the election based on the tally of the completion of the canvassing period on December the 10th. Today, we won, Rick said in a statement. I'm proud to continue upholding the Constitution and the rule of law with North Carolina Supreme Court Justice. And so then when I think about somebody could have told Riggs just to give up. You're not going to win. It's a Republican majority courts on the Court of Appeals. It's a Republican majority of the Supreme Court. You know it because you sits on the court. And maybe might even go before a Republican district court judge in the federal courts. And she still persevered. And perhaps because of her jurisprudence, she said at the core, there has to be judges on the bench that sits across this country and certainly sits within the Fourth Circuit that will look at things from a legal standing, from the preservation of our country, the upholding of our Constitution. And so I don't really care what political president set me into office. It's as Spike Lee say, we got to do the right thing. So that's what we have. So then when you talk about a a PR piece for the Democratic Party, here they are going to be able to say, when Republicans wanted to disenfranchise you, as we've always said, from voter ID to this or that, here is a 2025 living example of how Republicans will target you with surgical precision again, targeting heavily Democratic areas of some of our men and women who are serving overseas and some of the American citizens who are living abroad temporarily, to not allow them to participate in the electoral process. Again, what an amazing outcome that would be for the Democratic Party to really bring balance back to government. As you always hear me say, absolute power corrupts absolutely. When there is no checks and balances, which we are living in a North Carolina, where I believe we have lost all checks and balances, that's almost a nightmare. And the only way one can fix and recorrect the path in which North Carolina's counties, North Carolina's cities and towns are going, people must participate fully in the electoral process. Fully in the electoral process. Truth of the matter is, a candidate shouldn't have to spend one brown penny to get elected to office, because the citizens and communities should be more engaged in finding out who wants to represent them than ever before. But somehow or another, we got it twisted and put the onus on the candidate. Say, you run to represent me, you need to come earn my vote, and da 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 da. And then you don't vote for them, or you do vote for them, or whatever happens, and then they really ain't about nothing because they just was able to raise some money to touch you, essentially. And when money has gotten so heavy into politics that the person who has, or the group that has the most money, oftentimes are able to touch more people, thus engage them with rhetoric, engage them with campaign material that is going to incite the emotional behaviors and fear cues to get out to the polls and vote against their opposition and vote for them, ultimately has created a space of bad and poor elected leadership. And we have to own it. We have to eat it, because we failed to participate fully in the process. Now, that is some re-education that we certainly should work towards. Because if you know that you're not going to go sit in a city council seat, or a county commissioner seat, or a school board seat, or a general assembly seat, or a senatorial seat, or House of Representatives, or President of the United States of America, if you know you're not going to do that, but you also have the same responsibility of ensuring that our country is moving in the right direction, equally, whomever put their names in hats, you have that same responsibility to find out more about them and why you don't vote for them, or why you do vote for them. I get it, but we've been taught the other way, and so it's so easy. Look around. The other way doesn't work. This is why, again, some folks who are elected to political offices are poor examples of public officials. From their inaction, from their self-serving dealings, from any and everything else in which they choose to do, it becomes a seat of theirs versus a seat for the people. And I get it, though, when the people gives that up and say, I don't care what you do. Long as my lights are paid, and long as this, I don't care what's going on, it ain't impacting me. The more we have that attitude, the worse off we'll become. And at some point, there needs to be, ought to be, should be, God knows I hope there'll be, campaign tone and rhetoric about reestablishing checks and balances in these North Carolina streets. That means we got to be sure that we have a General Assembly that doesn't have these super majorities. So you've got to work together. So I'm not saying all Republicans are bad, all Democrats are bad, all independents are bad, all whatever party you're going to be affiliated with, right? Because we all live here together. We're all going to have different ideas. We're all going to have different ways of how we're going to get from point A to point B. But ultimately, whether we go right, whether we go left, and more lefts and more rights along the way, we can all end up in the same journey or the same destination, rather. Not the same journey, but same destination. So I get there are more ways to leave downtown Rocky Mount and get to Goldie's Crossing Mall. I understand that. I respect that. And so at some point, we've got to be able to listen. Others listen to us. We listen to them. And then we say, okay, yeah, we're all going to Goldie's Crossing Mall from downtown. You go this way, other person go that way. Well, let's figure out which is the most cost-effective way. Let's figure out maybe this isn't the cost-effective way, but time efficiency is better. We may pay a little bit more, but we're going to get there faster. So we can then, and then you got to figure out, okay, which one makes the most sense. That, I thought, is let us come together and reason. Because we understand there's going to be different ideas, different perspectives, because we all got different lived experiences. Again, goes back to respect. Hopefully we'll get there. For sure. I want to say good morning to Evelyn Johnson. Good morning to Mary Helen. Good morning to Ray Daltrey. If people would just step up and go to meetings, volunteer their time with parties, get involved and make a change, we'll be a better place. You can't sit back and wait on change. You can't sit back and wait on change. But and to that point, so I guess it's not a butt ass, but it is the campaign of Barack Obama years ago is talking about being the agent of change. He put that onus on the individual person. He didn't put the onus on him as a candidate, Barack Obama. He put the onus on, it's your responsibility. You have the key to success by ensuring that, one, you educate yourself enough to know who's in your best interest and holding those individuals accountable. When there are campaigns that are more in line with empowering people versus belittling people, just maybe we can see that state, that city, or that nation that we really want it to be. But too often in today's society, campaigns have been more about how do we devalue, belittle, harass, any other negative words you might choose to input there, versus enabling people to just live, enabling people to just grow, enabling people to just be happy. But I guess that's too much like a unicorn. That's too much like a fairy tale. But for me, I've just got to believe that there is an opportunity that if you find like-minded people who really value themselves, value their community, values the ideal of growth, and ultimately values the idea of humanity and respect, I believe the potential is endless. But too often we'll get caught up in divisive or divisive communications, actions, subset groups, and everything else, and we stay stuck. We stay so stuck that we get comfortable being stuck, that in our situation of being stuck, it becomes our permanent reality that I'm okay. I'm okay. No, you're not. You're not okay. You're not okay because you honestly are doing everything you know to do, and yet you still are finding challenges on paying for medication, finding challenges on paying your mortgage or rent. That's not okay. It's not okay. And most of the ills that we deal with are because folks who are elected to our general assemblies, who are elected to our courts, don't care about people. They only care about your vote. And they will do any and everything during that time to get your vote, to only leave you thinking you got something when you got absolutely nothing at the end of the day. Don't keep on being bamboozled. Don't fall into the narrative that it takes 100 years to do something, because it don't. When there's a hurricane that comes through a city or a town and that business wants to rebuild, it happens. It happens because they make a plan and they're deliberate in what they want to do. So when you see things happening in communities and saying, why is that taking so long? Because you, as the agent of change, have not gotten together with others and demanded that we're not going to wait for this. We're going to see this come to fruition now because, one, it's the right thing to do. That's my talking piece for today. I certainly appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. Do hope you also check us out at Pop's Diner today at 132 South Church Street, downtown Rocky Mount. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor. There's no reason why that building shouldn't be running over with people every single day. Every single day. Supporting not only the great food that's served there, but just supporting the little guy you see on TV every day as well. Support goes bigger than just saying thank you. Support goes bigger than just watching. Support also says, hey, I'm going to eat somewhere. Why not eat with Bronson? Think about that. We'll see you. I got to have it auto sales, everything else I do, but I ain't going to be there today. So I'll be at the restaurant. But thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, similar time, same station, right here as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation.